Hi there, it's former England international footballer Michael Owen here. Jonathan Lloyd James has been busy finding out who's been jumping the shark. So let's find out when they put the ball into their own net. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Michael. True facts, I almost wasn't a football fan. In fact, I didn't have any interest in any sports whatsoever. Not that that's really surprising. I mean, look at the football games that we did have to deal with back in the day. This game is Pele's Soccer on the Atari, and by God it's awful. It was one football game that changed my relationship with football, and that game was Striker on the Super Nintendo. If you were going to describe Striker in one word, it would be fun. I mean, even for a guy like me who didn't care about football whatsoever. It was good looking with a great atmosphere, and whether it was regular matches, tournaments, or even a really addictive indoor mode, it just drew me in. It had the usual early football game affliction of not having real names, but my friend who was a Norwich City fan used to enter them in manually, and before I knew it, I knew who people like Jeremy Goss and Efani Kuku were. I remember my Norwich City supporting friend sitting me down and saying, "John, it's time for you to pick a Premier League team of your own." So that night I went home, sat down and watched Match of the Day. And it was there I saw Tottenham Hotspur defeat Sheffield Wednesday in a 7-goal thriller where Jurgen Klinsmann scored an incredible goal and then was knocked out by Des Walker. It was a complete car crash of a game and Tottenham became my team. 27 years of pain and suffering later, and I still am, unfortunately. The floodgates were open and my life was now football games central. And the 16-bit era was just chocked to the brim with different options. Ignoring the Championship Manager series that were also amazing, there was Sensible Soccer on the PC, Super Soccer on the SNES, and the heavyweight champion of the SNES, International Superstar Soccer. International Superstar Soccer and Deluxe, its sequel, feel a little bit like Donkey Kong Country or Killer Instinct, you know, those games that just look a little too good to be on a 16-bit console. Its unique view, larger-than-life sprites, audio commentary and addictive gameplay made it one of the Super Nintendo's must-have games. The 16-bit era was golden for football options, all of them so unique, but unbeknownst to me, over on one of Nintendo's biggest rivals, another juggernaut was just rearing its head.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
EA were using the Mega Drive to sculpt their new footballing series, a little game called FIFA. I didn't play them, but you'd have a hard time convincing me it would stand up to International Superstar Soccer. Again, we're following my timeline of events, so we're going to go from here to the N64 and to International Superstar Soccer 64. International Superstar Soccer 64 is everything a sequel should be, utilising the N64's 3D graphics capabilities, improved audio effects and commentary, while being as fiendishly addictive as it ever was. International Superstar Soccer 64 is regarded as one of the greatest football games of its generation. But the International Superstar Soccer series wasn't alone anymore. There were two other series that were beginning to make waves. FIFA had come a long way since the Mega Drive days and were beginning to create strong games in a 3D environment, whereas Konami had set up a sister series to International Superstar Soccer known as Goalstorm, or Winning 11 in Japan. This series would eventually become known outside of Japan as Pro Evolution Soccer. And now for a sad moment. Following the release of International Superstar Soccer 3 on the GameCube and PlayStation 2, Konami made the decision to bring a game series that I've been playing for almost a decade to a sad end. I do get the logic. Winning 11 was really popular in Japan, and I'm sure Konami had to question the point of having to concurrently run two titles now the power of each console was so similar. What it signified was that a genre so packed full of great games and options when I was young was now reduced to just two real options. Being an International Superstar Soccer guy, logic would dictate that I would sidestep to Konami's other franchise, and that's exactly what I did. And the one that always sticks out for me personally is Pro Evolution Soccer 4. When I think of Pro Evo 4, I always think of the Master League, where you build a team towards total dominance. 72 Master League teams, its first time using online play, and the first time I'd experienced actual real teams and player names. It was, and still is, a great game. Surely that's the end of the story, and up until today's date I'm just playing Pro Evolution Soccer 2021, aren't I? No. A friend interjected himself again, and would change the course of my gaming history. One of my wrestling mates had FIFA, and challenged me to a game. I humbled him 9-1. What took me back was how the series had disappeared under my radar. It looked great, had fantastic soundtrack, great commentary and really enjoyable gameplay. Unfortunately for Pro Evo, suddenly all my friends were playing FIFA, and I had to admit, I too now preferred it. So how did FIFA ultimately win the war for my attention and loyalty? Well, it's numerous factors to say the least. Whether you look at improving the game format so that they could compete with Pro Evo, the soundtracks, the official team names, Be a Pro, which became better than the Master League. But I think there were little key subtleties that really made a difference, not least being the fact that I could change my controller settings to mimic the Pro Evolution Soccer controller settings, meaning that I could seamlessly move across and not really have any problem playing the game. That was smart. You also can't factor out the massive impact Ultimate Teams had on the FIFA franchise. Whilst I'm not interested in it and I don't really get it, it was hugely popular and it was another nail in the Pro Evo coffin for many. FIFA just went from strength to strength. And this leads us all the way up to FIFA 12, which according to EA is the fastest selling sports game of all time. They improved the physics engine, defending and dribbling, while significantly improving the game's AI. FIFA 12 is an incredible sports simulation game. It also marked the moment mainstream football games had finally jumped the shark. Let's be brutally honest with each other, football game fans. Most of us buy a FIFA game every once in a while, some of us buy it every year. But none of us really know why anymore. I'm sure if you dig in deep enough there are differences between all the versions, but to a guy who just wants to pick up and play a game of football, I haven't really noticed a difference in years. I basically buy it for the up-to-date roster and to begin Be a Pro from scratch again. The biggest issue, much like wrestling games, is them cashing in year on year to the point where FIFA 2021 was roundly criticised for not even pretending it was anything more than a roster update. I think to many, buying these games are just a force of habit now. So I picked up a copy of Pro Evolution Soccer 2020 the other day, and I've got to be honest, I can't see that it's massively moved on from where I left it. They've not even really tried to compete with FIFA. Konami, I'm appealing you from the bottom of my heart. Please do what 2K have done with the WWE games. Take Pro Evolution Soccer off the market and completely rebuild it from scratch. Because by God, FIFA are desperately in need of competition. Take care.
Never know how long referees are going to add on these days, but Kenner must be aware that there's not much left. He's found the Tissier. Oh, the Tissier scored! Brilliant goal!
Spackman holding it on. Just hooked in, and Cole wasn't offside. On the left foot. Oh, super!